We're going to have to be vigilant on two different fronts. We're going to have to defend the truth about the human person, made in the image and likeness of God, created male and female, created for marriage. We're also going to have to defend our freedom to live according to those truths.
Dr. Ryan Anderson, president of the Ethics and Public Policy Center and member of the White House Religious Liberty Commission, speaking at this year's Issues, Etc. Making the Case conference.
Over and over again, we're going to see that we have to form the next generation of our students, of our children, our grandchildren to believe the truth, while also defending our freedom to live it out. And then the long game is reforming our civil laws to reflect the truth.
You can watch Ryan Anderson's presentation, Making the Case for Social Conservatism, from the 2026 Issues, Etc. Making the Case conference. For a donation of $250 by Labor Day, we'll send you a link to watch an on-demand video stream and download audio recordings. Order online at issuesetc.org.
I think the fate of Christianity in Europe should be very, very sobering for Christians in America and make them realize that nothing can be taken for granted at this point.
What you actually can affirm for your child is you are baptized. You don't need to be defined by this gender dysphoria that's nagging at you and trying to get you to carve up your body and make all these changes. You are actually defined by what God says.
Union with the flesh of Jesus. There is nothing greater than that. And American evangelicalism cannot say that. It's a disembodied Christ. There's no Jesus in the water, Jesus in the Word, Jesus in your ear, Jesus in your mouth.
All of the Lutherans from the very beginning to the very end teach not only that good works are to be done, but even the necessity of good works.
Grocery clerks in Tennessee love listening to Issues, Etc.
There's no doubt that the landscape in the U.S. on abortion has changed since the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade. In some ways, it's changed for the better. In some ways, for the worse. The abortion rate continues to go up a little year by year. Why is that? Greetings and welcome to Issues, Etc., live on this Thursday afternoon, August the 6th. I'm Todd Wilkin. Thanks for tuning us in. Dr. Michael New will join us to talk about new Guttmacher Institute reports on abortion. Dr. Doug Groothuis will be alongside. We'll examine the claims of Jesus over and against what people believe about Jesus. What did he say about himself? Terry Mattingly will be our guest to talk about media coverage of clergy running for public office, and then we'll discuss burnout with Casey Belts. Dr. Michael New is visiting assistant professor of social research and political science at the Catholic University of America. He's senior associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, Paige Comstock Cunningham Fellow with Americans United for Life, and a columnist for National Review Online. Dr. New, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
What did we learn from a recent Guttmacher analysis regarding women traveling out of state to get abortions?
We learned that out-of-state travel for abortions is pretty common, that a number of states have strong pro-life laws in place, and sadly, a number of women circumvent those laws by obtaining abortions in states where the laws are more permissive. Guttmacher estimates that there were approximately 140,000 women who traveled out of state to obtain abortions back in 2025. So that's one thing. The other thing that they talk about is that out-of-state travel for abortions is actually decreasing, that even the numbers are high, they're falling. They cite Texas. There's a 19% decline in the number of Texas women who obtained abortions in other states.
So how is it that the telehealth abortion numbers affect these numbers?
Well, essentially what's happening is that fewer women are traveling because women who are seeking abortion are more likely to obtain abortion by telehealth. Instead of going to another state, they simply go online, get some kind of online appointment with a health professional, and have abortion pills mailed to them. So basically, because more women are using telehealth abortions, that's reducing the number of women who are traveling to other states to obtain abortions. So Guttmacher estimates that in states with abortion bans, about 91,000 women obtained telehealth abortions in 2025. That is a 22% increase from the previous year.
Does this mean that pro-life laws, where they're in effect, are ineffective?
No, they're actually, telehealth abortions and out-of-state travel weaken the pro-life laws we passed, but the pro-life laws we passed are still doing a lot of good. One thing I'm telling pro-life audiences is that in a post-Dobbs world, abortions are hard to count. Women go to other states. They even go to other countries. They do telehealth abortions. So it's hard to count abortions, but it's easy to count babies. And essentially, if you want to gauge the impact of a pro-life law, look at the birth rate. If birth numbers go up 7 months after the law is passed, that's powerful evidence the pro-life law is having an impact. And there's 3 studies of the Texas Heartbeat Act, which took effect September 2021, including one I wrote, that show that looking at birth data, it's saving 1,000 babies every month. There have been 3 other studies, all in very good either economics or public health journals, that have looked at birth trends in a range of states that pass strong pro-life laws. They've all found that these pro-life laws are saving tens of thousands of lives.
What did the report tell us about some early 2026 numbers?
This is the first look we have at 2026 data. They found in the first 3 months of 2026, abortions are going up slightly. They found the number of abortions went up by about 1.1% or 1.2%. That's a slight increase, but sadly, the upward trend does continue.
What does the increase in those numbers of abortions tell us about what we should be doing going forward?
Well, from a policy perspective, the best thing we could do is put limits on telehealth abortions. I mean, telehealth abortions are relatively new. I mean, up prior to the pandemic, a woman who wanted to obtain a chemical abortion had to have at least one in-person visit with a medical professional. The FDA relaxed the standards during the pandemic. There were obvious concerns about people going outdoors and going to hospitals and other health facilities. So telehealth was meant to be a temporary policy change during the pandemic. Unfortunately, after the pandemic ended, the Biden administration and sadly the Trump administration have continued this very unwise policy. The Trump administration FDA could put the old rules back in place. They could do so today if they wanted to. It's unfortunate they're not doing so.
What in particular do they need to do? What is the Trump administration failing to do to limit telehealth abortions?
They could restore the old FDA standards. And the previous FDA rules are very clear that any woman who sought a chemical abortion had to have at least one in-person visit with a medical professional. And that would stop abortion pills from being mailed into these pro-life states. I mean, the Trump administration says they're working on some kind of a study to evaluate the kind of public health impact of these telehealth abortions, but they don't need to wait for the study. They could do so right away. It was the policy that prevailed up until the pandemic. They should restore the old rules. They don't need to wait for the study.
Dr. Michael New is visiting assistant professor of social research and political science at the Catholic University of America, senior associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, Paige Comstock Cunningham Fellow with Americans United for Life, and a columnist for National Review Online. You can read his columns on the podcast page for this episode at issuesetc.org. Dr. New, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
We will be examining the claims of Jesus himself with Dr. Doug Groothuis of Cornerstone University after the break.
And I think we have to ask, do today's Marxist activists have any reason to say that they hate above anyone else in the world the church leaders most celebrated by our cultural elites? Or do they find that their efforts are not only not hampered by Christian cultural elites, but are in fact helped by them?
Megan Basham of the Daily Wire, speaking at the 2026 Issues Etc. Making the Case conference.
We must resist the infiltrators and use our power in such a way that when those who oppose the cause of Christ are asked who they hate most in the world, they think of our names.
You can watch Megan Basham making the case against progressive influence in the church from this year's Making the Case conference. For a contribution of $250 by Labor Day, we'll send you a link to watch the entire conference. Learn more at issuesetc.org.
Defending life from beginning to end. You're listening to Issues, Etc.
Lutherans for Life provides unique gospel-centered, life-issue-focused educational resources, audio-video training, post-abortion counseling, and more from a Lutheran perspective. Learn about LFL resources and forming a life team or life chapter or becoming a life advocate by calling 888-364-LIFE or by calling 888-364-5433 or visiting lutheransforlife.org. lutheransforlife.org.
Are you looking for a school that will raise your child in the nurture and admonition of the Lord? At St. Paul's Lutheran School in Brookfield, we deliver a classical Lutheran education, small classes, dedicated teachers, a safe, loving community where faith and learning flourish together. We prepare your child for this life and for eternity. St. Paul's Lutheran School in Brookfield, Illinois is now enrolling kindergarten through 12th grade. Visit spbrookfield.org. That's spbrookfield.org.